So we can continue now with exploring the menus of the application, and the next menu would be the system settings menu. Once I click the system settings menu, the following pop-up is shown, and we are seeing some different and additional parameters for the system here. The first several tabs, the system settings is divided into several tabs, and those tabs are channels, devices, rebroadcast, trigger, filter, ring buffer, and miscellaneous tab. The first tab shown by default here is channel, and this is actually a place where we can do some naming of the channels, we can do some additional scales and offsets, we can change the colors of the line and the background for each shown channel, and we can select the type of this channel. So several options here actually are available for each of those channels, and for this demonstration purposes I will simply say that this channel number 1 is my x-axis, the second channel is my y, the third one is my z-axis, and I will do the same for the second sensor. So this way I'm clearly labeling all the channels that will be shown. This field here can be used that I can provide additional description for this channel. For example, this is X channel located in the room 225 on the 3rd floor, facing east or facing west. So this is the purpose of this field. Additional parameters here, like changing the background and the line. I'm going to simply change the line for this axis to green, and I'm going to change the line color for my vertical axis to Z. Min, max, and average are just simply checkboxes that are allowing us to show additional information for each channel, meaning that we can see the minimum, maximum, and the average value from each 10-second period that is being shown on the real-time graph. So by pressing the save button here, my settings will be saved, and I'm going to start seeing the data and the channels with the configurations that I made. So green color and red color are present here, and I can see the description of my channel here stating that this is X and this is Y direction. So the same thing can be done for any other channel, and of course at the end is not necessary to be done. I can see the min, max, and average values here from all of my channels, and it's good to point that I can see that the average of my vertical value is 981 centimeters per second square, which actually is the Earth's gravity. So going further with the system setting, the next tab is called devices, meaning that besides adding and changing and adding a custom names to each particular channel, we can just add a custom names to each device, meaning that I can set names to each of my devices. For example, my first device will be device, or I can simply call it ASL number 1. I can change the name to the second device to ASL number 2, and I can change the name of my alarm device to alarm number 1. By pressing the same, I can see the names of the devices are now shown on the left tree value. So we can use from now on this naming for all our reporting, for all our logs that are shown on the system. So we can easily identify which device something happened to which device and when and how actually that happened. Going further with the system device settings, we have an option here called rebroadcast, meaning that the system can rebroadcast the data in 2 different formats. First one is that there is an embedded seedling server to the Voyager application, meaning that the system can be configured to stream the data in a seedling data format as described in the general documentation for this protocol. Additionally, we can set up the system to reliably upload both triggered and ring buffer data, actually the continuous recording data, to a remote FTP server for backup purposes. So both of those applications are available and can be configured using the configuration settings here. For FTP settings, we always need to know standard, the IP address of the host and the authentication credentials. The additional information here is that we only want to upload to do FTP upload on triggered or on ring buffer data or on both of those events as they happen. The next setting on the triggering mechanism is called trigger settings. This is actually the place where we do a configuration of the trigger. Trigger is a standard type of functionality for any kind of these systems that are being produced everywhere around the world, meaning that we are adding an automation mechanism to the system with simple purpose that system must do some action in case we are overpassing some levels. Usually this is called a trigger, and we have several trigger types available within the Voyager application. We have standard leveling mechanism, and we have STL versus LTA type of mechanism, which are both used for acceleration type of data. When we talk about simple parameters like temperature, measurement of temperature values, or measuring of inclinometer, if we have an inclinometer added to the system, we can use above max or below min values, meaning that we can set up a triggering mechanism for those. One new parameter, and I would say unique feature for this system, is that we have a so-called operational model analysis triggering mechanism, meaning that system can be configured to alert the end users on changing of some natural frequencies. This is a functionality of the Voyager application which can be explained a little bit later. So for the sake of this demonstration purpose, we can just add a simple leveling mechanism, and later we can add also STA versus LTA leveling mechanism. So if I press the button A, I can see several options for my mechanism, meaning that I can select which channels I would like to use by using this button here. The pre and post event data are already predefined as 10 seconds and 10 seconds respectively, but we can easily change them to any desired value we like. So the default settings for this system are that we use 10 seconds for the pre-event and the 10 seconds for the post-event event. The leveling mechanism is basically a mechanism that allows us to select which channels we would like to use for our triggering, meaning that we can select just one or we can select multiple type of channels. When we select multiple type of channels, we need to be aware of the weight parameter for each channel, meaning that each triggered channel and the weight of that triggered channel, the configuration setting here, must be bigger or equal than the total trigger weight of the system in order for us to declare a trigger. Meaning that if we set up 3 channels here and each of them with weight 1, we never have a system trigger, because even though all of those channels will be triggered by overpassing the level of 50 for each channel, the total sum of those is always 3, and we will never have a bigger value than 5. So in order to have a trigger event, we need to increase the weight values for each channel. For example, I will put them to 5 of all. This setting now means that my system can be triggered either for only 1 channel or from 2 or from maximum 3 channels if they are triggered. So I will set up the system like this, and later when we do the actual trigger, we will see how that works. Additional settings that needs to be set up here is that I would like to enable notification, email notification. So I will just type a simple test subject here with test body, and I will tell the system I would like for this trigger and the appropriate automatically generated PDF report to be sent directly to my email address. Next, having in mind that we have a alarming device added to our system, and this alarming device contains both SMS alarming and digital output alarming, I'm gonna do the same thing for the SMS setting notification. I will select my device, I will put a subject of this device, and I will add a recipient. Recipient always needs to be set up, the number of the recipient needs to be set up in this format like it is shown on the interface. Lastly, I would like to activate digital output for this purpose, because my alarming device has total of 4 channels, okay? for the 4 digital relays. I'm just gonna use the first one, and I'm gonna tell this: in case of a trigger, I would like this digital output to be on for 5 seconds. That means that we can connect some alarm, some strobo light or some siren. In this case, we're gonna connect and use our digital multimeter in short circuit mode in order to detect this trigger. So once I press the save button, my data will be saved, and we can continue with the next phase of testing the actual trigger. So once we have successfully configured our trigger settings, now it's time to test the actual feature. So the testing will be done by simply tapping on the table on which the accelerometers are, therefore simulating some strong ground shaking or some strong unwanted vibration. So if I just do this on the table, I can see the digital multimeter went on, and actually the duration of that is for 5 seconds. That's exactly the time that we set up when configuring the trigger settings. Additionally, we should expect receiving an email message and receiving a SMS notification from the system. This is the actual message that I just received at this moment. So once I open it, I will see the information that my system has been triggered with date and time, and additional information extracted from the acceleration levels is showing me that I had Mercalli, per the Mercalli intensity scale, some number. In this case, this was a strong shaking, and this number was 9. And additionally to the SMS message, I have the text and information I have already set up within my trigger mechanism. Continuing with this, let's see in the meantime the email message. So I received 2 email messages. First one is the immediate message telling me that something happened, and after the pre-event was finished, I actually received the final email message, which actually contains the PDF report automatically generated from the system, which you can see on the screen. The PDF record contains additional information like peak acceleration, velocity, and displacement values for every channel, and also additionally shows the frequency spectrum on each channel, which can be shown on this right graph here. Additionally, if we go back to the trigger settings, we can now test the additional type of mechanism called STA versus LTA. So I'm gonna name this one B, and I'm gonna add this one to my system. So now I have 2 mechanisms here. One is leveling, the other one is STA versus LTA. And for the LTA, STA versus LTA mechanism, I'm gonna select only the channel 1, meaning that I will monitor this activity on the first channel only. The standard and default values for level, STA and LTA windows are 5 and 30 seconds, and we have an additional weight and level of 5 and 10 each respectively. This means that if I set up this trigger, I can also for this setup set email notifications and SMS notifications accordingly, but for this moment I will just set up the trigger and see how this triggering mechanism works. If I press the save button, the way this mechanism works is that we're gonna need to wait 30 to 40 seconds until this mechanism is being initialized by the application, and after that time has passed, we should start seeing an additional line on the first channel. This is actually the channel that we used for this trigger mechanism that will actually be showing us the STA versus LTA ratio in real time. So we're gonna wait a little bit and start explaining the triggering mechanism. In the meantime, we see the line which is being presented now. We can see here 2 additional small notifications, meaning that for this channel we have type 1 leveling mechanism and additional type of triggering STL versus LTA mechanism. So if I start shaking my table, we can start seeing the table, the line going up, and at this moment we can see that I had a trigger because of the STA versus LTA mechanism. The same thing was shown on my notification bar, meaning that both triggers happened and both triggers will be recorded in the recording section. Once we if we continue playing with the triggers, we can set up to maximum 10 trigger mechanisms per system, and each of these triggering mechanisms can share same channels from same accelerometers. Additional triggering mechanism I already explained are some other trigger mechanisms used for a situation when we have different parameters being monitored with the system. For example, if we add a temperature sensor to our system via DXSense device, we can set up above max or below min devices, or as previously explained, we can set the OMA triggering mechanism. I will just, for the demonstration purposes, I will just set the total trigger mechanism of both to 50 in order that we do not receive any triggers as we continue with the demonstration and explanation of all the functionalities of the application. The next functionality that can be changed via the system settings menu is actually the filter. And once we press it here, we can see that this system of ours is offering 3 types of filters. First one is the data filter, then we have the trigger filter, then we have the integration filter. The particular meaning of each one of them is that the data filter will be used on all data regardless of that if they will be used by some mechanism or not. So setting up a data filter here by using these options, meaning that we will apply a digital filter to all of our data. This also means that our data will be recorded in this state filtered, which means that if we accidentally set up a wrong filter parameters, that means that our data will be corrupted and there is no way to restore the original data. The recommendation again from this site is that this feature will be used with care, and the parameters will be set up by someone who is really experienced in setting up these parameters. The additional filtering types are trigger and integration filter. Trigger filter, as its own name says, is being used by the triggering mechanism, meaning that we can filter the data before we send to the triggering mechanism for monitoring. Meaning that if we would like to set up, for example, our system to record only earthquakes, then we can set up to some generic filtering parameters and trigger the data before being monitored for trigger. Additionally, the integration filter is used during the integration process of converting the acceleration to velocity and displacement, which are actually the parameters contained in the automatically generated PDF report. And also we will see that later on the analysis window and analysis tab. Continuing on with the system settings, the next menu is actually the ring buffer menu, giving us several options to tell the system for how long the ring buffer should keep data in memory. This means that we have options here from 1 up to 30, up to 60, meaning that depending on the hard drive size on the Explorer Premium device, we can have 1 or at maximum 60 days in the history recorded, meaning that the system will always keep data on a 24/7 basis for the selected time period. Of course, we can set this to off, meaning that we will not keep any data in memory at all, but this is usually not recommended because whenever the customers would like to extract some data from some particular period where maybe something happened or we had some kind of an event which was not recorded by a triggered event, then we can always go back in the history within this 1 day in this example and extract the desired data. The last option from the system settings is actually the miscellaneous type of settings, which are divided in several groups. And we have settings here related to the general system, to the recordings, to the view, to the logs, and setting up the time zone. General means that we can set up number of minutes to be expired after which the system will auto log off. This is a good security feature, meaning that if we accidentally leave this application open, and it will be automatically logged out after the desired number of minutes. Regarding the recordings, we have several settings here, meaning that we can limit the max duration of events for which the PDF reports will be automatically generated, or we can limit the maximum duration of custom ring buffer, which we'll be showing a little bit later. Then we have some options regarding the view, whether the STA versus LTA curve to be shown or not, whether trigger legend to be shown or not, and some additional parameters regarding the charts being shown on these parameters. Lastly, we can enable the device events to be logged to the system log, meaning that each event that will happen to any of those digital devices will be logged to our general system log. And of course, we can set up the time zone. The time zone, setting up of the time zone means that we will simply have additional information into our automatically generated PDF report and on the email notification showing the trigger or the event time in UTC time, which is standard for this kind of systems, but also that time will be shown in a local time zone to which the system has been configured.